Hello, I'm Joan Laurie and I'm the Development Manager for Thurso Community Development Trust, and I'll be telling you about the climate action projects we've carried out ourselves, how we embed climate action in everything that we do, and also the new North Highlands and Islands Climate Action Hub, which is a pilot from the Scottish Government, which we will be running. So we took the action very, very early on in doing all of our initial consultations that we were going to embed climate action in absolutely everything that we did, that we were always going to be mindful of the detail and how we operate as an organisation. And that's pretty far ranging. We haven't done very well with disposable items during COVID, but it is something that we are now working on as we are coming out of COVID, particularly for a meal service that we operate so that we no longer use disposables for that. We, from using environmentally friendly cleaning products in the public toilets that we use, to carbon offsetting and printing on recycled paper, our community magazine, encouraging active travel and working with organisations like Hightrans and Cycling UK. This is lovely Ava next to the National Cycle Route Markouts in Thurso, to procuring locally and also encouraging the community to shop locally. We took part in the Scotland Loves Local campaign, and we continue to do so to this day. We just keep on with that mantra. We also have a community market that we run because we would love to see local food producers in particular, that there's more of them, and we want to give them a route to market. We only use energy from companies who are wholly sourced from renewables, and in fact we're in the process of now changing to an energy company who not only wholly sourced from renewables but are also a social enterprise as well. Thurso Grows is the most obvious climate action project that people know us for. For Thurso Grows, we run a community garden space. It was always a community garden space. It was previously run by Caithness Biodiversity Group, who had struggled to get in volunteers, and they offered us the lease on it, even before we were a registered charity. And we took it because they were going to leave the shed and all the tools for us. So we thought those might come in handy if we didn't get any funding. But we were fortunate enough to then secure Climate Challenge funding. And we've been able to completely redevelop the garden. It's all been done, everything in the garden is organic, it's to permaculture processes. We have our amazing polycrub, which came from Shetland, who are also a social enterprise. We have a composting toilet, we have an outdoor kitchen. We have a huge number of volunteers who are engaged in it, and very, very active volunteers who have really kind of come in and taken ownership of the garden, which is how it should be. We just simply facilitate it. We also run workshops in food waste minimisation and budgeting and low carbon cooking, and that keys into our sharing shed. We now have, as I said, that 2 years funding from the lottery, but we're looking to make the garden more sustainable in the long term, which I'm going to come on to in a little bit. And we have our sharing shed. The aim of the sharing shed is to reduce food waste in the Thurso community. We've so far, since launching in the middle of COVID last year, saved over 20 tonnes of food from going to landfill. We've got a relationship with Seafine via FareShare, Tesco's, the Co-op, and with other local businesses to donate surplus food. It also helps to address food insecurity, but it gives a dignified approach. There's no referral process that's needed, and there's lots of people that use the shed. It's open to everybody. We also put in veggies from our garden. It's currently funded by the Co-op Local Food Fund and the Hubbub Community Fridge Network. As I mentioned, we're looking to make our community garden space sustainable, and the way that we do that is by having enterprising projects. So earlier on this year, we formed the Thurso Community Benefit Society, who are now our trading arm. And via Coastal Communities funding and Adapt and Thrive funding, we are developing retail premises in the centre of Thurso to be a zero waste refill shop. And we're also in the midst of a community asset transfer of extensive greenhouses in Thurso. Now, as you'll see from the photo, they don't look like they're in much shape at the moment, but we have that funding in place. And with what we were able to do with that community garden space, we absolutely know that we can turn these greenhouses around. Socially growing will grow and supply much more commercial growing. So not just vegetables for actual eating, but plug plants. We're looking to be able to scale that business up and to be able to supply places throughout Scotland with plug plant vegetables. As well as our local hotels, guest houses, B&Bs, restaurants, with all those kind of Mediterranean vegetables that you can't usually grow in a place like Thurso without without having things undercover. The facilities will also be youth training facilities for young people, training them in enterprise, climate and land-based skills. There are significant issues in Thurso in terms of mental health and addiction, and a lot of young people who maybe are without hope. And we want to be able to take those young people, no matter what kind of trouble they've been in, no matter what kind of backgrounds they've had, and actually give them a chance and bring them on forwards. We'll also use the facilities for workshops and promoting circular economy. We're hoping to be able to put a tool library in somewhere in amongst all of these facilities, and also do workshops on repair and reuse, sewing, knitting, traditional crafts. We are also currently recruiting for a graduate for a project over 12 months to look at how we become net zero across Thurso. We feel that it should be in the community's hands and that the community should be involved in that process. And we want to look at to see how Thurso can become net zero from a community-led perspective. We know that we will need assistance from government, from local authority, from agencies, from other organisations, but this project will analyse what the current carbon emissions are in Thurso and look at how far we have to go and what we can do from a community-led perspective. We're really excited to get going on it, and we quietly have the ambition of becoming the first net zero town in Scotland. Lastly, we have been selected by the Scottish Government to run one of the first of 2 pilots across Scotland of regional climate action hubs. The other is in Aberdeen and the Shire, and Aberdeen Climate Action will be running it. We're calling ourselves the North Highlands and Islands Climate Hub, but the geographic representation within this pilot period is very loose. It may be better that the islands have their own hub, and also similarly, we would not turn away anybody who is in Inverness, Nairn, Badenoch and Strathspey from receiving assistance. The aim of the hubs is to promote community-led climate action and for us to be a support mechanism for communities to carry out their own climate action projects. I'm going to hand over now to Bethany, who's going to tell you a little bit more about it.
Hiya folks, my name is Bethany Laurie and I am a Development Officer at the North Highlands and Islands Climate Action Hub. So as Joan mentioned, we are currently in our pilot phase of the project that is for 6 months. So that will be up until spring next year. After that, we are funded for 3 years by the Scottish Government. So we're looking at empowering and supporting communities to carry out climate action projects. So that could be anything from food growing to new energy sources on a community building, all those kinds of things. So we're really hoping to share and signpost community groups to best practice, case studies, networks, organisations and agencies. So just to assist in any which way that we can to embed climate action into community groups and community projects. We'll be working with already existing networks and working closely with Highland Adapt as well. So I am one of 3 development officers. So there will be an Islands-based development officer and there is another development officer based throughout the Highlands. We do have a project manager as well as Joan, and we will have an admin and marketing person too. We will also be offering seed funding for projects and seed funding for community engagement as well. We do hope to be up and running, have our website up and running just before COP26.
If you'd like to get in contact with the Trust, you can do so in the details there. And we would really welcome and love to hear from any communities that are interested in community-led climate action projects across Highland and the Northern Isles. You can get in contact with us at inquiries@nhclimatehub.co.uk.